What's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode of RBL Weekly. I say it's very special because I'm riding solo this week. If you watch this show specifically for Brian Moses or, more accurately to roast his outfits in the comments, I send my deepest apologies. He was unable to make it this week. Just imagine what he would be wearing, sitting there looking like a goof. And, I don't know. Write in the comments below what you think he's probably wearing wherever he is right now. And you can roast the mental image. But we're still going to do what we do here at RBL Weekly. We're still going to give you 7 great battles. And for some people, these episodes are actually better because there's not a lot I can talk about with myself, so we get to the battles more quickly, less of me. So this is a good thing for some of you, bad thing for others, but we're going to survive. We're going to make it through and run through our favorite battles of the week. And it is a very, very good week. As always, we'll be going through our top 7. This was a week, frankly, where we had a little bit of depth. We had 9 or 10 that a lot of people on the ranking committee thought very strongly should be on the list, but ultimately did not have the votes to make it. We mentioned last week for the first time that we are launching a Patreon next Monday, June 17th. If you are in one of the top 2 tiers, the middle or highest tier, the additional battles, 8 through 10 every week, we are going to put on there. So you're going to get 3 bonus battles from RBL Weekly every week, a 34-week season. I did the math. That comes out to just over 100 extra battles a season. Strictly for the Patreon members in the middle or upper tier. For more information on that, stay tuned to this. Follow me on Instagram at RBLCommish, and you can get all the details on where to join and how to do that. But without further ado, let's jump into the battles. These are ranked by our expert ranking committee. And one more Patreon note for you guys. If you watch this and you're like, I would like to do that, I would like to rank battles, our top tier of the Patreon, if you join that tier, you will get an opportunity. We're going to tag you in at least 1 week this season and ask you to come on and guest rank the battles. We're going to be picking people from that top tier at random to join the ranking committee for a week and to make your voice heard. No other sport is doing that. No other sport lets their fans influence the race for first place. We are breaking the mold. We're going to allow you to do that. But for this week, it was our expert committee. They ranked the top 7. They're great battles. Less talk from me, more battles. Let's get into it. Number 7 this week comes to us from Toronto, the number 2 team in the International West Division. And this is 2 battlers making their 2024 RBL debuts. This is Dave Luca and Joe Fish. Here it is.
Keep it going for Dinesh one more time. Hey, took a lot of time out from hacking into the mainframe. That fucking nerd. And thanks, Jerry. You took time out from watching a guy clean a boat in Hamilton. Now, moving on. What can I say about Joe that hasn't been said to a police sketch artist? Joe! His name's Joe. I believe that's short for Joeish. That's true. I know he is Jewish. I didn't know he was Jewish. I thought he just had allergies and was depressed. But no, he does say that he came from a pretty conservative Jewish household. I believe the conservative part. I am very suspicious of the pretty part. I don't believe that. Thank you, Jew.
It's funny you should mention that. Dave, actually, his dad's a Latter-day Saint. He was a Jehovah's Witness, right? And I learned that about Dave, and it explains so much. I was like, oh, Dave's been molested.
That's true. He also did say 2 separate religions on that. You guys really are isolated. It's a lot. Joe's a bit of a bad boy. Sorry, I mean bad person. He's a bad person. He likes to talk about how one time he shoved weed up his ass in an airport. Yeah, he was just picking up a friend, by the way. No, he does explain. He didn't want to get caught with weed. I get that, but I don't get why he first placed the weed on the tip of a man's penis. That felt unnecessary.
My dad was desperate for a role, you know?
That's why we look alike. We both
Dave recently broke up with his longtime girlfriend because she was doing too much cocaine. Dave's girlfriend might be the first person in history whose life improved as a result of a drug addiction.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Steve Hebrushemi. Now let me go. No, you're not single, right? And I'm not surprised with the Adam Sandler spring collection that you're wearing. Thank you. He is with a woman. They've been together for a long time. Actually, they end up being Orthodox Jews when they got together because she could only fuck him through a sheet. And they're not married, but they are living together. I don't think she wanted him to move in. He just slowly started occupying spaces. And actually started saying, I was here first, bitch.
God gave me that couch. I don't mean to bring it down, but Dave's father actually abandoned his family when Dave was a child. Which means that audiences aren't the only things that walk out on Dave. Fun fact, Dave's dad was actually a property developer, and his specialty was actually broken homes.
Okay, here's one. He's a drummer in multiple bands, which means he's shit. And there's a couple bands he's in. He's in Guns N' Moses. That's a good one. He also plays a lot of Aerosmith. That's another one.
Dave actually works in a mushroom store at the moment, which actually gives Dave a lot of opportunities to meet his favorite type of women, drug addicts.
So that was the number 7 battle this week from Toronto, Dave Luca and Joe Fish. As if you've seen the show, you know I do not watch the 7, 6, and 5 in the studio. We do not react to them. We keep it moving. We will be back to react to that when we get to the top 4, as always. Let's keep the list moving right now with the number 6 battle this week. And this comes to us from the International East Division leader, the expansion city, by far the most successful of our expansion cities. I'm talking about Manchester. And this has a couple of familiar faces. These guys have both made the RBL Weekly Countdown once before. They make their second appearance on the podcast of the season. This is from Manchester. It is Meccan Roth versus Monty Wilson. Here it is.
I just want to know why every man I've roasted in this city just looks ill. Just chronic, just stunted, malnourished. I'm worried about you, man. You got to start taking better care of yourself. I'm worried you're going to die young and I'm going to have to lie and tell people you had so much potential.
I've been really looking forward to roasting Meccan because she's actually one of the prettiest male comics on the circuit. Meccan looks like she uses the space between her tits to store a backup vape. Meccan looks like the evolutionary dead end of Sam Smith. And Meccan looks like an inclusive Barbie doll. You know, the one with Down syndrome.
It's fine, I just got moon face. It's all good. Monty identifies as a feminist, but just because he lacks the upper body strength to effectively silence women. He's very conscious and aware, unlike most of his sexual partners.
Hasagi! Meccan has the aura of someone who'd spike a guy just to get a cuddle. Meccan identifies as bi because that's all she ever hears when anyone sees her naked. Meccan looks like she shows her solidarity to Pride every year by making love to a unicorn. And Meccan once had to ask a girl to be a bit quieter when eating her out. But could you blame the girl? She's pescatarian and thought she was at a fish market. Cheer the fuck up.
Hey, Monty, how come your eyes are like 80% eyelid? How are your eyelids fatter than my pussy lips? He got them double stuff eyelids, you know? Like, I don't know, I'm gay enough that I kind of want to make you cry just so I can see it get wet.
Thank you, Ellen DeGenerate. Meccan grew up in Silicon Valley, although nowadays Silicon Valley is just what she calls her vagina whenever she uses a dildo. Meccan sent me a bit in her roast info that I couldn't quite make a joke out of it, so indulge me and I'm going to read you a fucking wanky poem, okay? What a wonderful time it was on the 31st of December, a New Year's Eve that Meccan's nose and pussy would always remember. So listen in and be quiet as a mouse for the rest of this poem about how Meccan was in an orgy at her drug dealer's penthouse. One person for New Year's would make a drug dealer sulk, but a whole orgy, that's a different meaning of selling your drugs in bulk. Meccan likes guys and girls, what a greedy bitch. An experience, you could say, left her with an itch. One last bit, and I'll leave it at that. This ends with Meccan telling everyone from the orgy that she has chlamydia via a WhatsApp group chat.
I actually cut a joke about Monty non-consensually reading people poetry. No, be nice to Monty. He's got the mental health struggles, the depression, the anxiety, you know, the stressy, depressy. But don't kill yourself. Or do it. Your body, your choice. But at least if you do, we can all rest in the knowledge that you died how you lived, dead-eyed and high-strung.
Do it!
Meccan looks like a Pokemon trainer if she didn't try and catch them all, but eat them as well. Meccan likes chicken nuggets and also finds it hot when guys are mean to her, so I worry that her kinks will end up like her food choices, being battered. As mentioned, Meccan has also been involved in orgies, but also plays Dungeons & Dragons, meaning she's probably the only person ever to suck off a room of sweaty men just to level up her sage. Wow.
Monty has a girlfriend, which I can't believe that you're straight, man. You look like the only time you've ever fingered a gash was when you were slitting your wrists.
Oh, but Jesus. Meccan, as a teenager, was sent to a behaviour correction wilderness retreat. Not because her parents thought it would make her well-behaved, but because they definitely thought she'd be the first one eaten by a bear. Me and Meccan both have dead dads. No? Okay. But Meccan was high at her dad's funeral, which sounds bad, but it wasn't her fault. It was her mum that her uncle was trying to spike. Nah. Meccan actually just got stoned, so she evidently wanted her state to be the same as her dad's corpse, baked.
Smoke weed every day.
Last one. Meccan likes goth girls, but also hates queuing, so she can simultaneously love it and hate it when someone cuts in front of her.
All right, so that was the number 6 battle this week. Meccan Roth versus Monty Wilson. Of course, Monty Wilson was involved in one of the best battles of the year, the one that really put Manchester on the map. I think it was their debut battle of the season, when he went up against Michael Mannion. I remember that battle. That was a great one. Got a great reaction from the fans online and here in the studio. And Monty makes his second appearance. This time, absolutely, I don't know how else to say it, catching a little bit of a beatdown from Meccan Roth, who is a monster. What a absolutely great performance from her. She killed it, and runs her RBL record on the season to 3-0. Maybe an early frontrunner for the MVP of the Manchester scene. And you got to remember, if Manchester makes the playoffs, which right now they're in a position to do, the MVP of their scene goes to the World Championships. It's only week 14. We still have 20 weeks left. It might not be too early to start thinking in those terms, though. Could Meccan Roth be the representative at the World Championships next January. Like I say, early to get into that, but it's something to keep in the back of your mind. Either way, great battle out of Manchester this week. A lot of weeks that's top 4 easy. This week it comes in at number 6. And we move now to the number 5 battle of the week. And this one, no one had any idea where to rank it, how to take it in, what was even going on the stage. Couple weeks ago, you guys saw Subhas Sharma make his debut on the show. Older Nepalese gentleman, I believe he's from Nepal, and from the Bay Area, real character. We compared him kind of to the Iron Sheik or the Indian guy from the 40-Year-Old Virgin, and he absolutely blew the roof off the room when he came down here to LA and battled in the Belly Room. He was originally supposed to battle Digits, who is the biggest character in LA. Digits retired, so we had to find Subhas a new opponent. Well, Digits was in the room that night, and he said, that looks like so much fun. Not only am I unretired, but I am going to battle him up in Sacramento 8 days from now. So the retirement did not last long. Digits comes out of hiatus to go up to Sacramento to deliver this absolutely insane piece of art. I won't waste any more of your time. This probably should be number 1 or not ranked at all. But, you know, the ranking committee, there were a lot of differing opinions. It lands at number 5. Without further ado, here is the beautiful chaos that is Subhas Sharma versus Los Digits.
What up, motherfuckers? You ready, Dave Patel? That's how they take shits in this country. And this motherfucker is an old ass Indian with ED. His wife has to help him get it out by playing the flute. Cock charmer.
Are you done, brother?
Hold up, I wasn't done. I'm done, fool.
Hey man, put that ski mask back on. Ugly as fuck.
Oh shit, I'm looking in the mirror. At a mirror.
You know, folks, let me pray to the Hindu god before I sacrifice the Mexican lamb. You know, folks, my amigo name is Los Digits. His name starts with Los. L-O-S, like a loser. L-O-S-E-R. He is a loser from Mexico. He is an illegal immigrant from Mexico. He is a gay ass Mexican loser. What do you got, brother?
I didn't know they made Trump in this color. Hey, what is that little bell? Do you have Bell's palsy or something, fool?
You want it? You know,
yo, hold on. Yo, this motherfucker is hella into feet. So much that his wife has 4 camel toes.
You know, folks, my amigo, gay ass loser, he is squashed. Like he just got fucked on his ass. Brother, why do you squash on the stage? There's no dick for your ass.
Why do you squat in the parking lot? Hey, yo. This motherfucker is old as fuck. And in this country, they consider him a god. Only because he gets real handsy and he assaulted 8 women at the same time. Sheba.
All right. Are you done?
Hold up, I'm not done. He's a loser.
You know, folks, my amigo, gay ass Mexican loser, he is so ugly, they deported him from Mexico to here. And he is not even welcome here. He is illegal everywhere.
That's true, huh?
Nobody wants him. Not even his mama. What you got, brother?
Your mama does. Hey, yo, this motherfucker is like... He probably took the little short camel to school, huh?
All right. You know, folks, my amigo, gay ass loser, he was raped in the jail by the gang. And they draw the titi in his ass before they fuck him in the doggy style. That's not funny, folks.
That isn't funny.
You know, folks, my amigo is a gay loser.
think they got that.
What do you got, brother?
My ass is so gay. Hey, yo, this motherfucker right here. Women like to stay away from him so much that they go, nah, I'ma stay from you, bitch. That wasn't my joke, fool. Hey, you look like you shop at Bad Goodwill Hunting, fool.
All right, so that was Subhash Sharma versus Digits. I imagine there's going to be a lot of strong opinions on that one way or the other. Sound off in the comments. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you somewhere in between? I was thoroughly entertained the whole way through. Really enjoyed the battle. But when it came time to rank it, I had no idea what to do. I had to rewatch it several times before I came to a decision. And frankly, it's a decision I'm not even comfortable with to this moment. I think it definitely has to be on the countdown somewhere. Number 5, I'm sure some of you guys are going to be like, that's bullshit. When you see the next 4, you're going to be like, that should have been number 1. And some of you guys are like, that should never have been on there in the first place. Whatever your opinion is, I'm glad we got to show it to you, and I'm glad you got to take it in and form your own conclusion on that. So now let's jump into the top 4 battles of the week. These are 4 that I am going to be watching and reacting to live here in the studio. And we are going to jump into the number 4 with the leader in the American East Division, New York. This is a 3-round battle. From the New York Comedy Club. They still do 3-rounders over there. And it features one of our more familiar faces here on RBL Weekly against a guy that I think this is the first time we've seen him. Definitely the first time this season. Not sure if we saw him last year. For Dan Wicks, one of the guys who co-runs the New York Roast Battle, he's done probably 100 battles, you know, across different leagues in New York, dating back for a decade. This is his 4th RBL Weekly appearance of the season, tied for the most in the league. You've seen him a whole bunch. And he's going up against Ilya Laxon, who, like I say, first time we're seeing him this season. And, you know, he does a hell of a job in this battle. No spoilers. Let's jump right into it. It's Ilya Laxon versus Dan Wicks from New York. It's number 4 this week. Here it is.
Now we have an autistic person and their caretaker. So it's up to you to figure out
Shout out to
who's
Nico
who.
White, by the way, one of my favorite hosts.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we got Dan, we got Ilya. Y'all tell me who's going first. Dan Wicks is gonna get us started. Ladies and gentlemen, 3 jokes, let's roll.
All right, yeah, Ilya's Jewish, yeah. I don't think he controls the weather because I don't think he's ever made a woman wet.
It's weird. If people think Jews control the weather, why does everyone call you Rain Man?
That's a great rebuttal.
Dan, keep going for Dan and his eyes that follow you around the room. I'm a little nervous roasting Dan, mostly because I get seasick easily.
3 great punches.
Yeah, seasick. You look like you're stranded on a desert island. All right, thank you, Noam McDonald. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're from the Middle Ages or just middle-aged.
Keep going for this toddler who really needs to go to the bathroom. Dan, your voice sounds like when you accidentally call a fax machine. You guys ever done that? All right, anyway. Dan's from Long Island, and his birth defects are from the Long Island iced teas his mom drank when she was pregnant.
Nice.
All right.
Ilya's not good with the ladies because you can't pick up women with Jedi mind tricks. Yeah. Here's my impression of Ilya's wife. May divorce be with you.
Dan, I am married. Dan's not married. He'll never tie the knot because his hands aren't steady enough for that. Dan, he changed his look recently. I don't know if you noticed. He dyed his hair pink, which is a cool thing to do in your 30s. He also wears a bunch of rings, or as the FBI profilers call them, trophies.
Okay.
Give a man a round of applause. 5 jokes, let's roll.
So Dan has Tourette's syndrome. And you know, a lot of people would make that like their whole personality, but not Dan. Dan refuses to have a personality. There's actually a pill that he can take for it, but he can't open the bottle without spilling it. Dan's threats are, it's not the fun kind, like where you yell out curses or racial slurs. Like if you ever hear Dan yelling the N-word, that's just because he's an Italian guy from Long Island. Dan's dad worked in the World Trade Center in 9/11, and tragically, he survived and had to come home to Dan. Dan's a vegetarian. He only eats things that experience the same range of emotions that he does.
That's the wrong guys.
That's the wrong guys. Let's have some emotion. Let's have some emotion, guys.
Yeah, I can't stop shaking. He can't stop drinking shakes. All right, yeah. I'm not gonna call Ilya a pedophile because he'd sue me for libel. I mean, he is a pedophile, but that's how good of a lawyer he is. All right, but on that note, Ilya looks like he went to Epstein's Island immediately after getting off of Gilligan's. Yeah. Ilya is married. His wife's an immigrant. Yeah, he helped her with her visa and her MasterCard and her Discover because he controls the banks. Yeah, he didn't want to give her a green card because he thought it meant money. All right, I don't actually think that Ilya runs the banks, even though he looks like he's alone.
Clever.
Think about it. Ilya did mushrooms over the weekend. Yeah, he actually grows them between his toes.
It was a good time. Dan, sorry, I'm gonna look at this joke because it's so good, and I forgot.
Nice save.
Yeah, right, it's a shake. Dan, you're shakier than P. Diddy's defense.
Yeah. Well, buddy, you look like the only lawyer who would defend him. God, I thought that was clever. Anyway, Ilya, as we know, Ilya is Jewish. Yeah, it's a theme. He's so afraid of the Holocaust, he's never taken a shower.
Solid.
Dan only brings up the Holocaust because he's jealous that all those Jews got those cool numbers tattooed on them.
Wow.
Just want to be clear, Dan's not shaking. He's just going through with withdrawals from his mother's breast milk.
Yeah. Ilya is a lawyer. He's an immigration lawyer, which is ironic because he looks like he believes in aliens.
Dan's career is picking up. He just got cast on a spin-off of Love on the Spectrum called I Only Like You as a Friend on the Spectrum. Dan, you really put the virgin in neurodivergent.
Oh my God.
I'm kidding. Women actually love Dan because he's a good listener and an even better Wi-Fi hotspot.
I don't get it, but love it.
As I said, Ilya is an immigration lawyer. His wife thought it was really cool that he's an immigration lawyer because she thought, finally, another person who will let literally anyone come inside.
Look at his face.
Dan didn't get the vaccine, but he did update his antivirus software. Okay. I can make a lot of jokes about a robot. You know, a lot of people are afraid of being replaced by AI, but AI is afraid of being replaced by Dan.
All right, I get it. We're not with the anti-Semitism. Despite being a cheap Jew.
Nicely done.
Ilya respects his servers, particularly the ones he uses to play World of Warcraft.
Dan, I really do appreciate Dan carving out time to do this. He's got, a busy schedule, whether he's like licking his eyeballs to keep them moist, or explaining Bitcoin to a bored hooker, plus he's got busy with his day job doing IT support for child porn and solving Rubik's cubes with his mind. And then he barely has any time left for his hobbies, you know, practicing small talk in the mirror and starring a community theater production of Forrest Gump. He's got a lot going on for himself, guys.
Give him a round of applause.
All right. Classic 3-round format. We used to do that all the time here in LA. We have not done one of those in a while. We should bring those back. That was fun. You guys know the meme where I don't even know which cartoon it's referencing, but it's the one where the guy has the 2 buttons in front of him and he's like sweating because he doesn't know which one to pick. I imagine that's Dan Wicks when he has to choose what battle to send us, knowing that Ilya's performance is made the battle good enough where it's probably going to get New York points, but it was not a super competitive battle. Not one of Dan Wicks' best. I mean, for a legend. And I don't think he'd take offense to me saying that. I think he knows. When you're up there, because I've had a few of those, you know, this is not going the way that I want it to. And damn, Ilya was cooking. And I'm sure Dan, when he had to choose to send that battle, and there's part in the back of his mind, he was like, we could just bury this and nobody would ever know. But kudos to you. You did the thing that's best for your city, for your team player. You send in the battle, and it lands you the number 4 spot this week. You get 4 points. You know, we've seen Dan a lot on this podcast. He's had a lot of great performances, so I'm going to focus a little bit more on Ilya this time. Like I say, I don't know if he was on last season, his first appearance this year, and, you know, New York is one of the oldest roast battle cities, right? It started in LA, but New York was one of the early adopters. Of course, all those Roastmaster videos on YouTube. A lot of our viewers with this actually grew up with them a little bit more. You know, they came up watching Roastmasters because we weren't putting our stuff on YouTube at the time, and now, you know, they're fans of New York originally. And Ilya has a classic roast battle style that I think you would have seen in the Belly Room or at the Stand, you know, years ago when the shows were run there, which is, you know, he hit a lot of different targets. He attempted to do it all without the phone. He ended up needing the phone in the 3rd round. But a lot of classic hallmarks. You have 13 jokes in these long battles. You have to hit a bunch of different things. And he was doing it. And he wasn't even taking any of the low-hanging fruit. Like, there's an unwritten rule in roast battle. If you're battling a white guy, you get to call him a pedophile like twice. And you get to call him a racist. You get these are just accepted things, right? And Ilya, to the best of my recollection, didn't even really have a whole lot of stuff like that. He was really going in on specific Dan stuff about the Tourette's, about the shaking. And the thing I love the most is he had the pre-written rebuttals. I'm a big pre-written rebuttal guy. Like, whenever I go into a battle, I pick like 5 things I think they're going to hit, and I write a rebuttal that's specific to that person and specifically rebuttaling what they talked about. He had the Holocaust one with the numbers. He had right out of the gate, if Jews control the weather, like, how come they call you Rain Man? 2 Jewish autistic responses that I think really, you know, turned the tides in his favor, especially right out of the gate to hit that Rain Man one. And then he followed it up with 2 other, like a setup and then an actual joke, like 3 big punches in a row to start. And I felt like he just established dominance kind of early in this one. I think the pre-written rebuttal is something that is kind of fallen by the wayside. I see way more of people trying to have these conversational in the moment rebuttals, which are cool. But I think if you go in prepared with a few, like, oh, if he says this, I'm going to say this, man, you see how effective that can be. So I'm a fan of that. I'd like to see more people kind of bring that back. Shout out to Ilya Laxon, a very, very impressive 2024 RBL season debut. And shout out to New York for picking up 4 points as they continue to try to maintain their lead on Chicago in the American East Division. Okay, let's keep it moving now and get to the number 3 battle of the week, which comes to us from, you guessed it, Chicago. Chicago picking up 1 point on New York this week by virtue of finishing 1 spot ahead of them. They chisel into that lead ever so slightly. And this is with 2 brand new battlers that I have never seen before. I know for one of them, it was his first ever battle, ever. And the other one, it was his second. I think his debut came during the offseason. For both of them, it's their RBL debut, their RBL weekly debut. And, man, I'm just a big fan of this battle. I really, really enjoyed it. It's number 3, and I want to make sure I read this because one of their names is really hard to remember. It's Owen Damon. That wasn't the one that was hard to remember. I had that one. I don't want to fuck this one up. Owen Damon going up against Femi Hikundayu. I hope I got that right. Femi Hikundayu versus Owen Damon. It's the number 3 battle this week from Chicago. Here it is.
2, 3, roll! Guys, give it up for 50 Shades of Gay.
I want to start by saying I'm only here to get revenge on Femi for scamming my grandma.
I use her pension to buy a house. Okay. Owen wants to be from France because their age of consent is 12.
Okay. Okay.
Femi's a 27-year-old virgin. But due to his heritage, he still got AIDS.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I got it from Owen.
Okay.
Owen has wet dreams about Krispy Kreme.
Not fat though. What are we doing?
Femi looks like if my shadow couldn't swim.
Oh boy.
Owen is the emoji for rape.
Femi was actually in a frat in college. He was the only pledge hazed with clean drinking water.
That's really good.
Last joke? Yeah. Owen's porn name is Jim Crow.
Femi actually hates Pride Month. It reminds him of the pride of lions that ravaged his victim.
Give it up for these two motherfuckers, man.
God damn. How's the number 3 battle this week? Femi, hard to pronounce last name, versus Owen Damon. It's funny when you watch these things back. Like, I've tried to express to people how difficult it can be to rank these battles, right? Because you got those two back-to-back. New York, 3 rounds, really solid writing. Then you have that where, like, I felt like the energy was, like, off the charts, and I love that the momentum kept building. I had Chicago ranked ahead of New York pretty significantly this week on first watch. I had them both in my top 7, but it wasn't 3 and 4. There were at least a couple spaces between there, right? And watching it back and watching them back, like back to back now, sometimes you see things differently. Sometimes you'll watch one battle and then you'll watch 8 more in between, and then you'll watch it, and it's like, it's already tough to compare those 2 battles because they're so different. But you have that like distance in between, and you know, it's hard. But watching it back here, you know, I think it was way more clear to me the second time around. The first time I watched it, I'm like, they both killed it. And if you saw the records on the lower thirds at the beginning, like that, Femi won that battle. Femi 1-0, 0-1 on the season. But watching it back here, I was like, damn, Owen was cooking. Owen had great shit every single turn. And the thing that I really loved about the battle from both of their perspectives is it built momentum. But I feel like Femi started low and ended up high, whereas Owen started pretty high and ended up very high. I thought his joke writing was unbelievable. Both great chemistry, very likable on stage. And I feel, you know, Femi obviously was building momentum, and like the Jim Crow joke was a lot of fun. I'm not sure it totally made sense. I'm not sure what the porn name had to do with anything, but like, great punchline, and you know, very funny. And his 4th joke, which is I'm blanking on right now, also was the rape emoji. Really good. It's really funny to me. The idea, there were a couple of like silly ideas. The idea that Apple would be like, for the next update, like, let's, you know, we need an emoji for rape. We're making everybody type it out. That's crazy. And if my shadow couldn't swim, the idea of you go swimming and your shadow drowns is very funny to me. Very silly. But yeah, I thought that they were both really good, but I thought Owen, watching it back, was on another level. I don't think I gave him his full just due the first time watching. I was like, oh, great battle. They were both great. Owen is going to be a star in this thing, I think. He writes really fucking good jokes. And Femi, a lot of fun. Chicago, I'm sure, is salivating at the thought of doing Femi versus Fujiko. Everybody wants to book these crazy battles now, right? Digits versus Subas, I think, is going to set off this string of people worldwide being like, who are our most mentally unstable and or difficult people to understand due to accents? And we are just going to plug and play. But great battle from Chicago. A lot of fun. Like I said, it built the entire time, which is the sign of a good battle. There were no dips. It just kept going up to the end. Really, really enjoyed it. Congrats to Chicago for the number 3 battle this week. And now we're going to move to the number 2 battle this week. And this has been one of the cities that I think is really surprising a lot of people in the International East Division. I'm talking about Tokyo. They've already eclipsed their point total from last season. They are hot on Manchester's heels. They pick up 6 more points this week. Of course, Manchester had 2. So Tokyo, a net gain of 4. It's been a great season for them, and it's been a great season for at least one of the guys in the battle, Troy Lewis, who I'm going to talk more about in a little bit. Runs his record to 3-0 this season with this performance. It's his 2nd appearance on the RBL Weekly podcast. He is making an early case to be Tokyo's MVP. We talked about Mekin Roth earlier from Manchester. Troy is making a case to be the MVP over in Japan. And if they manage to make the playoffs, this could be another guy that you see in the World Championships. And he's going up against, in this battle, another one of my favorites. Really like this guy, Mike Paxman. It's the number 2 battle this week. Troy Lewis, Mike Paxman. Here it is.
Let's go!
Hello. Troy is big into history, and he's big into the great speeches of history. And I asked him, what are the 3 speeches that changed your life the most? And he said, easy. Number 3, MLK, I Have a Dream. Number 2, Malcolm X, The Ballot or the Bullet. Number 1, my dad, I'm just popping to the corner shop.
You don't love me no more?
That's a good sound drop.
Ruben definitely can't say that.
Yeah, he ain't come back. It's all good. Yeah, Mike, he claims to be bisexual, but he's married to a man, which is pretty gay. The only thing bi about Mike is his preferred location in relation to man butthole.
He's not wrong. As I said, Troy is a big history buff, so here's a history lesson for you. In 1184 BC, the Trojans rode into Troy on a giant horse. And Troy, if you were a Trojan when you were riding, you wouldn't have so many fucking kids.
Fuck those kids, man. I wish
Oh, it runs in the family, does it?
Yeah. I wish you told me that joke 6 years ago. Yeah, so in the 1990s, Mike's daddy worked on an oil rig for British Petroleum. And in 2024, Mike is a British man who uses petroleum jelly to oil up his butthole.
I get a discount, but boy, does it leave a stain. As I said, Troy is a studious fellow. Troy has a minor in city planning, and now, as a grown adult, he spends all of his time planning to get into this city's minors.
A lot of really well-written jokes from Mike Paxman.
Where they at? Yeah, Mike Paxman, not to be confused with Pac-Man, the video game. Even though everywhere he goes, he puts balls in his big mouth and tries to avoid colored people.
Fuck me, okay. Troy comes from an interesting family, we think, about his dad, but his mom, she worked for the US government for many, many years, and this is true, she was in the Pentagon on 9/11. That's crazy. Now look, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I've seen a picture of Troy's mom, and let me just say, Butch did 9/11.
Yeah, my mom's office got hit by an airplane on 9/11, but thank God for colored people time, because she wasn't there.
Oh, man.
You know what the weirdest thing is? I want to report that to someone.
Good luck. Yeah, so Mike and his partner, his husband, they've been trying to get pregnant for a few months now. Which is a ridiculous fucking sentence, yeah? But unfortunately, neither one of them is fast enough to get away when they try to steal kids at the park.
They get away every time. When we were preparing for this battle, Troy and I hung out twice. So I can't be racist. This is my black friend. And I went to his house, and he lives in this. It's a lovely house in this like cute little Japanese cul-de-sac, and all of his neighbors are very nice, and they kind of wave at him. But I think they're actually a little bit freaked out by him. Now, look, I'm not saying you don't belong there, but the last time a black guy stood out that much in a neighborhood, they tried to jail George Zimmerman.
It's okay, I don't belong there. I know. Yeah, 2 times we hung out. Yeah, Mike has worked for many tech companies, and after a conversation with him, you kind of get why he's very anal retentive. But then after a second conversation, you realize why all those companies fired him is because he's really just a retard who likes anal.
There it is. There it is. The number 2 battle this week comes to us from Tokyo, Troy Lewis versus Mike Paxman. I have a few thoughts on this battle. I think that this is a perfect example of why battles are fought on stage and not on paper. I think if you actually just focus on the jokes, which it's been an interesting experience for me this week, watching these back kind of solo, is like I'm way more focused on the jokes than the first time I watched them when I was ranking them, where, you know, it was a lot more about the overall show for whatever reason on this watching, I'm way more sort of cognizant of the actual jokes. And the joke structure was really interesting to me because, you know, Mike, I think, had a lot of shit that on paper is like super clever and maybe wasn't connecting. It was all working. Nobody did poorly in this battle. But he had two back-to-back jokes where just littered with double entendres and almost like if you reverse engineer the joke, it works the same way. Like the Trojans rode into Troy. Trojans rode into Troy, and if Troy rode Trojans when he was riding, he wouldn't have so many kids. And then there was the second one, which I'm going to forget now. I was trying. Oh, yeah. Troy has a minor in city planning, and now he plans to get into the city's minors. Some of those jokes, and I know because I try to write jokes like that too. And sometimes it's like, it's more clever maybe than is funny, or it telegraphs. Like I've seen so many roast battles now. I hear the word minors. I kind of know where the punchline's going. I respect all the layers and levels to it, you know, but I don't know if it's like telegraphed or what. But very well-written jokes, and Troy had a few really well-written ones too. Similarly, the difference to me was Troy is so cool. He's so fucking cool in the moment on stage, and cool is a thing that is in short supply at Roast Battle. We don't have many like effortlessly cool people, and if we do, they have a tendency to not really write the best jokes. They think they can get up there and just coast on cool. It's rare you get that mixture of somebody who writes really good shit and is just a cool guy up there. And Troy, great guy on and off stage. I battled him last year at Roast Fest in Tokyo. That battle is going to be dropping on the Patreon in the near future, so you might want to sign up for that too. We had a great battle. But he's just, great guy. And just on stage, the way he just like rolls with everything. You have a joke about like, oh, the kids. And then he's like, yeah, fuck them kids. I don't even want those kids. Like, my mom colored people's time on 9/11, like just embracing everything and just kind of like laughing it off. He's very, very good. In my opinion, the front runner in the early season to be Tokyo's MVP, and for good reason. He does a little bit of everything. I want to bring out, before we get to the number one battle, bear with me here. I wanted to introduce you guys to a little book. Now, there's a guy who reached out to us a few months ago, and he's a man of many hats. And you might hear more about this guy in the future. He's got a couple companies, couple things going on. But I wanted to bring this to your attention. He wrote a book, right? It's by Alan Williams called Japanese Conversational Slang. Japanese Conversational Slang. And he wanted to send me a copy of this book because I battled in Tokyo last year. I'm going back in September for Roast Fest 2. And he said, hey, take a look at this book. It might be of some help to you. Different things that you could say when you're over in Tokyo. And it was described to me as sort of like an urban dictionary for Japanese words. Now, I thought it would be cool if I found one to sort of describe the battle from Tokyo that we saw this week. But most of the stuff is very disparaging. It's very good. So I was like, oh, maybe there'll be a word for cool and I can drive that point home. And I didn't find anything like that. The closest thing to a compliment I found in here is a little bit strong, but in that battle, we'll say that Troy Lewis's performance was Kami-Titiero. And I fucked that up. Kama-Tiru. I don't know. We'll work on the pronunciation, but it basically means godlike. So I'm not sure I'd go quite that far, but there was nothing kind of in the middle. But this is a really fun book. If you're looking for sokuhame is a quick sudden fuck. If you want to have a quickie in Japan, you ask for a sokuhame. Cringy people who play dumb. You can say MILF, jukuju. If you go to Japan and you're looking for a MILF, you'd be like, where are the jukujus at? So there's a lot of funny. I turn immediately. It's like, dick is hard. I'm like, I didn't think I would need to say that. Stank armpits. There's a lot of good shit in here. If you want to fuck buddy. Anyway, a lot of good shit. If you want to check, and it's volume 1, so there's more coming. If you're thinking about going to Tokyo, this is the guy to connect with because he has all the ways you can insult the beautiful Japanese people and make it so that you're never invited back. Japanese Conversational Slang, Volume 1 by Alan Williams. Shout out to Alan. Thank you for the book, man. Really appreciate it. And now let's get into the number 1 battle of the week. And this is a city that, boy, have they been making a run. Really rough start to the season, and then these last 3 weeks, they have just completely exploded and put themselves right back in the playoff race. It has been really cool to see. It is Denver riding the wave of this tournament that they've been having, and this really interesting sort of cast of characters that have been on the countdown recently, and one of them is returning. We saw this guy for the first time a couple weeks ago. Really blown away by how funny he was, and how his style, very unique style, and now he is in the finals of the Denver tournament coming up later this month. I'm talking about Phil Corridor. What a run he has had in the 2024 RBL season. It's his second appearance on the podcast ever, both this season and his first ever #1 battle. And this is going up against Tanya Sabrina. Very, very fun battle, very good battle. And it's #1 this week. Phil Corridor, Tanya Sabrina from Denver. Here it is.
Tanya is a disgraced Canadian. She got kicked out of Canada because she was a bitch. And now she's in America and she can't keep a boyfriend because she bruises too easily.
Jesus.
Thank you, Eddie Morphine. Phil, you're like if a stray cat could become even more homeless. Seriously though, thank you for taking some time away from killing songbirds to be here. I'm joking, but Phil really does have a lot of cat-like qualities. He's quiet, athletic, and at the house party you'll find him barfing in people's shoes and hiding under the bed.
They can't prove anything. Tanya is 47 years old. But, you know, I like my women as I like my Cheez-Its. Aged and white.
Thank you, Ketamine Lamar. This human eggplant emoji is Phil. What can I say about Phil that hasn't been screamed from the back of a Ford F-150? Don't worry, you guys, I'm not going to do any race jokes. There's enough stuff that's actually wrong with Phil. Like, for starters, he hates it when white girls use the N-word. No.
Why don't you just read my journal? Tanya, she's very smart. She's very good at math, although she's still trying to figure out what she's amounted to.
That was mean.
Physics is hard.
Thank you, Martin Luther King Jr. Phil, I don't know how I can roast someone who has a nicer voice than me. You sound like Christopher Walken doing a homophobic impression of a drag queen. The reason reason Phil whispers all the time is because when he talks at a normal volume, he sounds like, "Hey, you guys!"
That's true. The louder I am, the more annoying. Tanya is the most attractive sociopath I've ever met. Psychopath? Which one has to learn emotion? Well, you still gotta work on humor.
Thank you, Kendrick Lamar's class. Phil, you look like you were born with a full set of teeth.
I love it.
I do like the layers of that joke. Lamar's I gotta practice my breathing. You probably get hit on a lot. I bet a bunch of guys probably like hit on you at the grocery store. They probably try to pick you up at the grocery store. They probably try to pick you up and take you to the customer service desk and report a lost little boy.
She points to her tits as a rebuttal. That's great.
Thank you, Chris Rock Bottom. This is a dick-sucking joke. I mean, Phil is a dick-sucking joke. Phil is actually a really good guy. Like, he would never have sex with an inflatable doll. He's fine with just a headless Barbie.
Phil went first in regulation. Tanya's going first in overtime. Put some energy back in the room.
I used to think Phil was weird and quirky, but then I found out he's just autistic and gay.
Gosh. Tanya, you look like a sex doll with loopholes, you know, like, you know, all the guys looking for, like, you know, a very underage sex doll. But, you know, the loophole is, you know, you just put noticeable lines in the face.
Oh my God. Wow. God damn. Phil Corridor has a special power. There's something about that to where, like, because Tanya was reacting accordingly. Like, he said she looked like a little boy and she, like, pointed at her tits and was like, made that face like, what the fuck is he talking about? Look at these things. And then he said that she has lines in her face and she kind of pointed to her face as if to say, no lines. I don't think Denver's cameras are good enough to pick up the lines if they exist, but I didn't see anything. But man, I laughed at, and the crowd went nuts. There's just something about, like, that venue where they're doing it, and Denver runs at the Improv now, obviously also, but that Rock Pile, that bar, we started seeing that last season, and it's one of the noisier venues. Anytime you run a show in a bar, anybody who's done comedy could tell you, like, there are probably going to be people at the bar, and I don't know if this is the deal at the Rock Pile specifically, but there are usually people there who are like, I'm just here to drink. I'm not here for a comedy show. Now, it might be different there, but I've definitely seen some battles at, Wide Right is the name of the venue. Excuse me. It says the rock pile on the wall. Wide Right is the name of the venue. I've seen battles there where it feels like the crowd is like a little bit chatty, nothing crazy. But what Phil was able to do with his whispering kind of style and his long setups that take you on this journey, it forces everybody to come all the way down. You have to be dead quiet to be able to hear Phil. And when you invest that kind of energy into it, the payoff, you saw how people were reacting. They're exploding for these jokes that Tanya is looking at very pragmatically and being like, that doesn't even make sense. And the crowd is basically saying, we don't care. We find it very funny. We went on this long journey with Phil, and it was absurd, and we loved it. And boy, I get both sides of that. I've been on the other side of jokes like that, where in my head, I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. How dare you people laugh at that? But like, when somebody who is that likable gets going, it can be really tough to compete with. I thought Tanya did great. I thought she had some really funny jokes. It's really tough on this episode in particular, and I wish Moses was here today because very rarely do the top 3 battles all have a black guy in them. I was worried when we got back into this battle because I hadn't watched it since the first time, and I couldn't remember Tanya's material. I was like, oh man, if this is 5 racist jokes, this is not going to play very well after the last 2 battles, with Troy and Femi. But it wasn't. I thought she even addressed at one point, she's like, I'm not going to be racist because there's so many other things that are fucked up with Phil that I can make fun of. I thought her material was great. It was just Phil was in control of kind of the room. And there's a reason he's going to the finals for the Denver tournament with a chance to battle Evan Joe on the line, and perhaps even more than that. We got to start looking at people very, very soon for this July 21st at the Comedy Mothership at 8 o'clock, the first ever RBL All-Star game, West versus East. A lot of difficult decisions for me to make. Who's going to be representing their cities and their conferences? Boy, whoever wins that Denver tournament, I would think would have to be the front runner in the Mile High State. So still more to come on that. I don't know if tickets are still available for that. I know they went on sale. They tend to sell out very quickly, but we're actually doing 2 shows that night at the Mothership. So if you're in Austin, you want to come see Roast Battle, it's always a great time. We have a 5 o'clock and an 8 o'clock on that Sunday. The 8 o'clock will be the All-Star game. 5 o'clock will be the Best of Austin. It's going to be a great time. So make sure you come out to that. Okay, let's close the show by jumping into the standings here. LA, not on the countdown this week, still managed to pick up 1.5 points thanks to Digits going up to Sacramento and having that battle with Subas. That's, of course, 3 points for the Bay Area. They put a little bit of distance between themselves and Austin. And how about this? How about Denver? Still in last, but when you think about what they've done in the last 3 weeks, I'm doing some quick mental math. I'm pretty sure at the end of week 11, they had either 7 or 8 points. I want to say 8. And now we're here at the end of week 14. 3 weeks later, they've gone from 8 to 28.5. They are right on the heels of Austin and the Bay Area. They have climbed their way back into this thing. An incredible streak for Denver right now, and it really speaks to the power of the tournaments, man. Chicago, you remember they got off to the great start this year? That was their tournament. If you're in a city and you're down on these leaderboards and you're like, what can we do to spark interest and get some great battles? Tournament seems to be the way to go, so maybe look into that. In the American East Division, we just alluded to Chicago, got off to the big start. New York has come back, overtaken them. Chicago picks up 1 point this week as their battle was 1 ahead of New York. Cleveland and Atlanta still towards the bottom of the pack. Shout out to Atlanta, though. Atlanta, the last 2 weeks, the stuff has been a lot better. The ranking committee is like, damn, Atlanta's kind of cooking. This was a really, really tough week, generally speaking. But they're trending in the right direction, so I'm excited to see that. We look at the international scene right now, and Scotland maintains their lead in the West. Toronto picks up 1 point. Otherwise, no real movement in that division. Over in the East, Manchester, they had opened this. They were neck and neck with Tokyo, and then last week Manchester was number 2. They pulled ahead a little bit. This week Tokyo's number 2. They pull right back. It's a 4-point game. And London, I think it's time, and I'm going to wait until Moses is back, but I think it's time heading into the second half, heading into week 17, the midpoint. we're going to have a London conversation, because the first 3 weeks it was like, oh yeah, they're getting off to a late start this season. They're not running until, April 28th or whatever it was, or March 30th, whatever the date was. But now they're running weekly, and we kind of assumed last year's international champion, they're gonna make up that ground on Manchester and Tokyo. Thus far, they have not. We saw Tokyo this week. We saw Manchester. We did not see London. So it's a very interesting international East Division. To me, the most interesting in terms of surprises, with Manchester and Tokyo on top. Shout out to both of those cities. They've done a great job. Okay. That is the show for this week. Appreciate you guys joining us. As always, the RBL Weekly fans are my absolute favorite people. You guys are the true roast battle nerds like myself who really love this shit, and we appreciate you guys tuning in as always. I'll be back next week, I'm sure, with Brian Moses to get back to our normal thing. Thanks for bearing with me on this single episode of the podcast, and we'll be back next week. And in the words of Brian Moses, let's roast.